All right, I think we have a few people walking in now, but thank you so much for joining this afternoon, particularly after lunch. We know there are a lot of panels happening, but we're excited to welcome you to our Pathways with Purpose panel. My name is Kirsten Lundgren. I am the Director of Post-Secondary and Workforce Initiatives at the Capeware Foundation. We're located just up the road in Oakland, California, but all of our work is really centered around building inclusive tech ecosystems in California and nationally. And we thought we would bring together some of our favorite university partners for this conversation. So they'll be introducing themselves shortly. But to have a conversation that we feel is urgent around the need for a talent-based form of students and learners and workers that are interested and dedicated to building technology, especially around AI, that serves our communities and everyone in them. So particularly at the Capeware Foundation, we are tracking every day how AI is quickly reshaping particularly entry-level roles and skill sets. And while there's legitimate concern around some skills displacement, we firmly believe that there's amazing opportunity for new skills and new roles, especially around AI ethics, auditing, engineering skills at the intersection of responsible design, and that this is going to be increasingly critical in a world in which regulation and guidelines, guardrails for new technologies are up in the air. So without further ado, and we'd love to, we'll have a half an hour of just commentary with our panelists, and then we'll open it up for conversation with you all. We'd love to have this just be as interactive as possible after a long day of other events. But without further ado, I will ask our esteemed panelists to introduce themselves. If you could start with who you are, what you do, what your role is, maybe just a bit about how you yourself have entered into responsible pathway work professionally.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Good. Excellent. My name is Meredith Lee. I am the Head of Strategic Partnerships and Chief Technical Advisor to the Dean at UC Berkeley's new College of Computing, Data Science, and Society. I have practiced to be able to say that in one breath. It's a very long title. But every word is important. And I think really on a day-to-day scale of things, what gets me excited about my role is that I have the opportunity to really ask some of the long-range questions. Some of these have been echoed on stage throughout the last couple of days at this summit. But for instance, what can we design and build together? Often for us at Berkeley, it's together with other institutions. We love working with the Chancellor's Office of the California Community Colleges across UCs, CSUs, which are represented here today, and with civil society organizations, philanthropic partners, state government. Basically, I think as head of strategic partnerships, I get to partner with basically anybody, which is super exciting. I get to ask the questions like, how will that actually work? What are the key ingredients? And what might success look like short-term and long-term? It covers research, education, and public service, so it's a really broad mandate. And I think one of the things that I've really appreciated is that because we are a new college, the first in 50 or so years on campus, there is this sort of vibe of possibility. So much like we've heard from the students on stage, love the AI skit, by the way. You should watch that recording if you weren't there in person. There is this beauty to trying to co-create together. Why I got interested in PIT, public interest technology. Well, I remember when it was called Civic Tech, and I am trained personally as an engineer. I went into public service in DC during the Obama administration, having not done any policy whatsoever. I had to pull aside a faculty member who taught science policy and ask him, what do you teach in your classes? And can I get a little, boot camp before I head over to the other side of the country? And I think for me, even though I love technologies, like from a device scale of things, I like to know how is that built from an atomic level and so forth. For me, it always started and ended with humans. And so when the public interest technology sort of movement and field came along, I immediately identified with it because I'd been working in that space for a really long time. And I think a lot of the questions we'll get into today are about this moment where the landscape for public interest tech looks different than it did a couple of years ago. And how might we inspire our students to find their own pathways, to feel supported in having this huge, amazing scale of impact in a slightly different landscape than, a few years ago.
Oh, my turn. Okay, I can try this one. Okay. Hello. I know. All of a sudden, I have so many choices. Hello, everyone. My name is Yingji Liu. I'm the Director of Digital Learning Strategies at San Jose State University. I lead faculty and student initiatives related to AI. At the same time, I also run as a PI for state-funded and NSF-funded AI-related initiatives, and also serve as AI advisory committee for our campus. So that's covered the develop policy and strategies to engage the whole campus. So across all those initiatives and responsibilities, it also helped me to see the connections from innovation connect to the teaching, to the learning, to the equity, to the public sector, so all across. So it's very interesting time right now with AI actually help us to build all the connections, connect all the dots. I think that's lead to the question, what drives me is really right now, even though a lot of initiatives we are running related to AI is to cultivate folks to understand what is the AI, how to use it in an effective and meaningful way. But at the same time, I think it really positions us to shape it in the way to serve our community. And also, I like to summarize it kind of like AI won't define the future for our students, but our students will and should define the future of AI. So that's something our whole campus is trying very hard to work towards. So glad to be here.
Yes, and Yunji, also, could you say just too a little bit about your background too? Because I think it's interesting. Both you and Meredith have these like technical backgrounds, and then you went into this public interest line.
Thanks. So my background, I have a bachelor master degree in computer science, and then the PhD in cognition, instruction, and the learning technologies. So slowly you can see my path is like how to actually bring technology meaningfully into the teaching and learning category. At the same time, my interest always try to be the magnet, the translator, the bridge, either between the faculty to students or between our campus to other sectors. So I think it's very important for me at this time, especially with AI going on, how to demystify it, to make sure everybody on track at the same time, really bring AI for good, collectively. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, is this working? Yes, great. Thank you, Kirsten, for the invitation to be here on this panel, and I'm really excited to talk to you about these subjects. So my name is Jess Peake. I'm on the faculty at UCLA Law School, where I run our International and Comparative Law program. And I come from this from a totally different angle than my co-panelists. I'm an international lawyer by training. I've focused on human rights, war crimes, and genocide throughout my career. I've worked for the UN and other organizations, and I've been on the faculty at UCLA for about 12 years. And in the past 5 or so years, I really became interested in the intersection between technology, human rights, and accountability. And so I've been focusing my research on that intersection, and I launched a digital investigations lab at UCLA and co-founded the University of California Digital Investigations Network, through which we partner with civil society organizations to use open source information, tech tools and platforms for documentation and accountability for international law violations. And so I'm really a public interest lawyer at heart and have kind of come to technology through that work. And through this work over the past 5 years, I've met so many students that are really interested in using technology for good, interested in using technology for good in law. But I came to realize that this field was really underexplored, particularly in the legal academic setting. And we're really not doing a good job of showing our students how they can enter into these fields. And that's what really got me interested in this area. And I'm now a senior research fellow with the Center for Resilience and Digital Justice, which is Sophia Noble's center at UCLA. And maybe you heard her give the morning keynote. And so she and I have been thinking through some of these issues and working in partnership with the Public Interest Technology University Network over the past year or so in doing a study to look at how students and young professionals are really thinking about public interest technology careers and what that means to them.
That is a perfect segue because I would love to actually dive deeper and have you share. And I'm happy to. Do you want to do the slides?
I'm going to try and juggle.
Okay, perfect. That is so impressive. So Jess is going to share some slides about her research called Expansive Vision for PIT Careers that she's been doing at UCLA. But would love to better understand what students are signaling in terms of their interest in PIT careers, what organizations they're seeking to contribute to, what are some of the opportunities and challenges that they're facing along the way.
Sure, absolutely. So as I mentioned, for the past year or so, I've been a senior research fellow at the Center for Resilience and Digital Justice. And along with the Public Interest Technology University Network, we've been working on a qualitative research project to look at how students and young professionals view public interest technology careers. And I'm just going to put a few slides up here so you can see some of the data as we go through this. So between just after the election in early January, before Trump was sworn in, we conducted a survey of almost 100 students and young professionals and asked them a range of questions around how they're thinking about public interest technology careers in this moment. And what I'm going to focus on today is the really broad and expansive vision that the students and young professionals shared with us for what this career path can mean to them, even in the face of potentially changing circumstances. So we first asked a question about what type of public interest issues are you interested in? And what the data shows us here is that the students want career paths that are justice-oriented, that are intersectional, and that really speak to their personal circumstances and ideals. And so what we see is they're interested in a really broad variety of subjects, from core equity domains like education, economic justice, human rights, healthcare, racial justice, and more. They're interested in issues that are more policy heavy, like healthcare, voting rights, immigration, data privacy, and environmental justice. They also have very community specific or community centric concerns, such as tribal sovereignty, veterans benefits, and mobility exclusion. And they're really interested in digital rights and platform governance, including, of course, algorithmic accountability, surveillance, and AI ethics. And so what this tells us, or one insight we can draw from this, is that students are really not just seeking to apply tech to policy, but they want to use public interest technology to address structural inequalities and to repair historic harms through their participation in public interest technology careers across different sectors. Second, we asked them what type of work they're interested in. And again, we found that students are interested in a really wide array of types of work that really extend far beyond the reach of traditional tech roles, or what we might interpret as traditional tech roles. So students are interested in research and analysis work, from data science to investigations to policy research. They're interested in advocacy and policy domains. They're interested in community engagement and education, including organizing and teaching. They're interested, of course, in the more traditional tech fields of product development and design, including user experience, service design, and ethical tech development. And then they're also interested in more legal and journalistic storytelling type work that might involve civil rights litigation or investigative reporting. And so again, this is confirming that students really see technology not as a standalone skill set, but one that is going to be embedded in broader civil and political work. And they're really drawn to interdisciplinary careers that blend ethics with storytelling, with community knowledge, with systems thinking, and more. Finally, we asked them what types of organizations they're interested in working for. And while there is, of course, a strong interest in nonprofit government work, a surprising number of students in the public interest space also expressed interest in working at technology companies. And I think this probably reflects a pragmatic response to compensation realities, the private sector versus the public sector, but also a fairly strategic mindset. I think students today are thinking about ways they can reshape technology from the inside, and they want to bring ethics and equity into those dominant tech institutions. Of course, others are drawn to where we might assume public interest students are drawn to, like government, nonprofit, and think tanks. But increasingly, students are thinking about academia as well as a home for public interest technology career paths. So why does this matter? I think it matters in this moment because public interest technology is increasingly under siege due to some changing political circumstances, a lack of investment overall, not just in this current moment, and a lack of education, training, and career pathways that are legible to our students. But at the same time, the research is telling us that young people want to do this work. And so it's really incumbent upon us as educators to partner with funders, with industry, with civil society, and with government to begin to create those viable and visible pathways so that our students and young professionals can pursue these careers that they are already so passionate about. And I'll leave it there and maybe come back to some of this data a little bit later.
I'm sure there will be many questions about this rich data. Thank you so much for taking the initiative to dive in on this, especially at this time. My next question is for Meredith. I'm curious if you see any of this reflected in the interests of your students at UC Berkeley, how you've then aligned academic pathways across institutions. Has this shifted academic priorities and also just sort of the multidisciplinary aspect of this? How has that kind of bled into your approach?
I'll mix it up, but I'll try this one. Okay. All right. Really appreciate the question. At UC Berkeley, our new College of Computing, Data Science, and Society includes the data science major, which went from not existing to now being the most popular one on campus. We had 2,000 students graduating. If you've ever gone to a concert at the Greek Theater, you know that filling that Greek Theater is a lot of people. We had to do it twice to fill all of our undergraduate data science students. And so you can imagine, just even selfishly, if some portion of those students went into careers in public interest technology, went into public service, whether at the state government, local government level, or other options, imagine what the cascading positive impacts could be. So I love the theme of trying to, this down, reshape tech from the inside. It actually echoes when we were getting into federal government during the Obama administration, this call to reshape government from the inside. Go do your tour of duty. It's not enough to just vote and complain about the situation. What might you be able to do crossing a bridge to another sector, another discipline, et cetera? So I think in short, the answer is yes. At Berkeley, we're seeing, the continued trend of our data science foundational class feeding into 60 or more different majors, seeing the applicability of the data skills, the AI increasingly literacy skills that were mentioned at this summit, all going into a lot of different career paths. I do have some numbers in case those in the audience were tracking. I was asked, how many community colleges are partnering directly with Berkeley along those pathways, and our team is really excited that there are 21 California community colleges that have approved articulation. 6 of those are just in the last year for our foundational data science course. And 27 California community colleges are using our interactive computing infrastructure. And so the combination of things like a free online textbook, where it's like, no pressure, here's, this material online. By the way, it's been, vetted from a community. It continues to evolve with, I see some familiar faces in the room, with leaders from the California community colleges. That has been a real game changer. And now that we're coming up with the 10-year anniversary of our national workshop, I think some of those lessons learned and best practices that we saw in the multidisciplinary data science lens are all the more amplified and important in a multidisciplinary, multi-sector, AI-ready workforce frame. So I'm really excited about seeing this data. And of course, as a data science geek, I would say and what might we do with the larger sample and the 39 million Californians, and what could we, continue to learn together?
Thank you, Meredith, and thank you for pioneering all of this work, especially on structuring pathways that go back. As a funder in this space, we were very supporting opportunities in which resources can be shared between university partners and community colleges all the way back to the K through 12 level. So really exciting to see these numbers in particular around those shared resources that you've developed, and hopefully will lead to more conversations here today. My next question for Yinji. So San Jose State University has been very well known for developing some very innovative public and private partnerships. Obviously, from Jess's research, there's a lot of questions students have around what does a paid career actually mean concretely? How can I use these skills on the job? Would love it if you could share a bit more about how you've developed those partnerships. Any lessons learned, any opportunities or challenges that you wanted to call out for folks at community colleges or otherwise who are trying to build similar opportunities or would want to work with universities to help build those opportunities.
Okay. Awesome, great questions. So at San Jose State, I'm fortunate to lead quite a few very fun initiatives across the sector. I'm gonna go through them one by one. So for public sector, I have been able to working with the city of San Jose for the AI upscaling program. So we have co-developed the curriculum with the city, and we have conducted 2 cohorts already with 60 employees graduating from the cohort. And we are gonna launch the 3rd one next month. Just imagine, for me, it's my first time to collaborate with the city. At the same time, when you see the audience, there are police officers, they're someone from 311 department, right? So they're very eager to have the AI skill to help with their work process. For instance, 311, right? So they have large data set, and they are wondering if there are AI tools to help them process the data and get the main theme. What are the top, for instance, what are the top 10 issues our team need to focus on at this time, right? So a lot of those things very hard for them to do without AI. Now they're able to save more hours and then contribute their energy and team effort to the top priorities. So that's definitely one of the very successful model we have been launching. And also, San State, we recently, maybe you have seen that, signed an agreement through City and with NVIDIA. So over the summer, we are able to launch NVIDIA Omniverse digital training, training for the faculty. We have more than 100 faculty actually went through the training, where the NVIDIA engineer put together a live session, talk about the ins and outs of digital training, and also 30 faculty who are tech-savvy faculty, who are Python ready, they actually get hands-on. yeah, when you understand what that means, yeah. So actually get their hands-on experience to went through the very extensive learning path the engineer experts from NVIDIA built for them. So now all those faculty are very eager to integrate those into their courses and research. And just today, I already saw my inbox. I have 3 more faculty who reach out talking about they are not Python savvy, but they are very interested in learning more about this such opportunity, try to maybe collaborate with other faculty and integrate into the courses. And it's very eye-opening for me to see with the AI, you actually can have a larger scale interdisciplinary collaboration. I have never imagined art professors actually are interested in doing digital training in this way, and try to use digital training to launch like theater performance, for instance. So it's very eye-opening. And also, for instance, business faculty, right? So a lot of collaboration from the business. I never think I would think engineering faculty are the first tier, but actually business faculty also see the potential. So a lot of potential there on campus related to this type of industry collaboration. And also our campus is Adobe Creative Campus. So we have been using this opportunity really bump up our students' digital literacy skills. And I have a most very exciting report from our colleague who from Career Center. They actually collaborate with other key stakeholders on campus. Last week, they launched what they have the name is called Jumpstarting Digital Literacy Event. They brought nearly 3,000 students and 50 faculty together in 2 days. So all the students went through the training together. And also, we have partnership with IBM. Over the lunch, you might have heard about the IBM Skill Build. So we are actually integrating those opportunities into the teaching and learning. And we also launched a hackathon with IBM related to AI ethics. So it's a very timely topic, and the students are very excited about those very meaningful topics. So they can work on real problem, but very meaningful real problem. So that's another opportunity. Through across the CSU campus, we also collaborate closely. One successful initiative led by our faculty from school business is called AI for Social Good. This has been a very successful initiative as well. Try to bring the technology into the classroom so students can collaborate, interdisciplinary collaborative project, but for social good. And now it's extended to the whole CSU system. They just launched a very successful symposium. All the students present their projects, so that's another exciting. I got excited bragging SGSU. So and another project, my own project. It's a collaboration. This one is funded by California Learning Lab. It's a collaboration with a very renowned nonprofit organization. It's called Quality Matters. Maybe some of the faculty heard about that. So the reasoning behind it, the goal is, for us, we are fortunate to have instructional designers, for instance, on campus to help with faculty with course design, quality course enhancement, but not all the campus have such resources. So we are working together to create an AI agent platform. So eventually that will be a very helpful aid for faculty with course design and quality course enhancement. So I think that's the bragging I have. And for the challenges and the opportunities I want to share is it's very important we are solving the real problem together. I think that's the opportunity will actually help with any challenges we are facing. But working with the industry in particular, what I have seen is they might not understand how education run, right? So they might say, I have this solution, now hand it to your faculty, right? And magically, it will be successful in the classroom, but right? Yeah, right? So, but it doesn't run that way, right? So we have to help them to understand in order to be successful, right? Their infrastructure, their faculty training, and all the things need to be in place. For instance, the NVIDIA training even, just for industry training is different from what faculty training, their need. So I have to work very hard to help them to understand just handing us the list of this training is not helpful. You have to create it as a learning path. So the faculty will see it meaningfully how this actually contribute to their discipline. So a lot of things like that, I think, challenges, but because we are having the same sharing goals, I think those are opportunity. Everybody work very hard collectively to solve those problems. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Shinji. Thanks, Shinji. That's amazing to hear that full list and menu of options available for both students and faculty, and love that. I think it's important to note that that faculty upskilling piece is a critical piece to all of this in order to offer these services. And as funders, we're also thinking about that. In the interest of time, I think I'm going to combine some of the last two questions I had, but would love if you could maybe summarize your key takeaway on how you think university partners and community colleges can best collaborate, what sort of resources, policies, structures need to be in place to help with that, and then maybe one key takeaway that you want to leave the audience with on how to really forge these PIT career opportunities moving forward. Whoever wants to start.
Can I show one more slide? And again, I'm going to try and juggle all of these things, so apologies if I mess it up. So during the survey, we asked students, which of the following currently affect whether or not you pursue public interest technology jobs, right? And so the data is pretty interesting, and of course, everyone's worried about money. We all understand that, and probably as educators can't do too much about that. But I think community colleges and universities can do something about a lot of the barriers that relate to the perception that these career paths are invisible, or there's a lack of resources for support, or there's a lack of mentoring and networking opportunities. And so we together can help fill those gaps through partnerships with industry, with civil society, and with government to provide students with more visible pathways and on-ramps to these careers. And so this research will eventually result in a report, so, stay tuned for that. But we make a bunch of recommendations to these 5 different constituencies: funders, educational institutions, civil society, government, and industry. And I'll just highlight a few of the recommendations that we have for educational institutions. So one thing that we can all collaborate on, which would be a relatively easy lift, I think, is launching public interest technology-focused jobs boards, career fairs, and employment partnerships. That's, I think, something that can be a collective effort together. I think our students really struggle with translating their educational experience into concrete skills, and so we really need to equip them with ways to think about that and be able to track the skills they're developing throughout their college or university experience. I think in the law school or in law schools, we have a clinical education model, and I think that's something that could really be co-opted in the public interest technology space. So where we're giving our students opportunities to work with partners on hands-on projects where they're receiving practical training and also education in how to implement some of these public interest technology skill sets into the workforce. Obviously, students need increased mentorship and support to do this. And so those are all some like pretty attainable short-term goals. I think some more medium-term goals that we suggest in the report reflect back to what my co-panelists have already said, which is this need to really embed public interest technology into general education requirements to make sure we're exposing all of our students to technology and society issues. And those numbers coming out of both of your institutions are amazing. We need to do that across disciplines and departments and not continue to operate in these very siloed ways that tend to happen at universities. And then I think we need to think more expansively about how we credential people who are wanting to go into the PIT field. I think one thing that we found through the qualitative study and then some interviews that we did were students were really just not sure what qualifications they needed. And so there needs to be careful thought put into what does that look like? Is there something standardized, or is it really not a one-size-fits-all given the very, very varied career things that they're thinking about? So I think, my takeaway is educational institutions and we all have a giant role to play in creating these pathways, but we cannot do it alone. It really does need to be a multi-sectoral effort between us, between funders. We need to be talking to prospective employers in government, in civil society, and in industry about how to really create and solidify visible on-ramps to our students so that they can do the work that they want to be doing.
Always love a bonus data slide. Thanks, Jess. These are really heavy questions that keep a lot of us up at night, so it'll be hard to do it justice in a short amount of time. But I think if I were to have a magic wand and have resources to be able to get from where we are now to the trajectory that so many of us in this room want to see, I think there's an untapped opportunity to really reflect on some of the nascent pilot partnerships. I'm particularly thinking about ones where we, for instance, from the California Learning Lab, another shout out to them, we're able to get faculty-led, very much staff and student engaged collaborations for the first time seated around, for instance, an introductory computing, no programming experience needed course with a social science lens. I think there was this unique value proposition where for the first time, community college faculty, shout out to Lainey if you're in the audience, also Folsom Lake and LA City College and others, all collaborating around a shared vision for a curriculum, and we're all piloting teaching this for the first times together. That's pretty unusual. By the way, this was also, seed funded from the National Science Foundation to partner with Tuskegee. And I think there's this, pivot moment where you go from a pilot and some really compelling initial results to, well, is it actually sustainable? Do we have the capacity on staff? Do we have the, infrastructure and other sort of just basic convening funds? Like this convening is great. You can't substitute for in-person connection, but have we actually put that line item in the requested budget to be able to scaffold around the pilot and try to take those lessons learned, best practices, and really leverage that? I have no desire to reinvent the wheel. I hope that other people in the education space also feel that way, because time is short and we don't have, that luxury of just like, I am only going to do this because I invented it. I think we need to learn from each other's experiences and contextualize for our own students. And to do that, there's simple things like, having a pathway for students and faculty to get professional development, mentors, resources, and so forth. And so often that is just others' duties as assigned type of thing versus something that we're actually asking for funding for, whether that's government funding, philanthropic support, etc. And so very much echo my co-panelists' sentiment that it's going to take creativity on all of us, whether you're wearing an industry hat, academia, civil society, whether you've served in government or are curious. All of those perspectives are needed to really build robust pathways for students. And if we can remember that it's about those students and what they're going to do, like our products as educators are students, I hope we'll get further, but it's going to take some rolling up of sleeves to adjust to the current climate.
Okay, thanks. I will share, I'm thinking for our university and the community college, and also public sector, there's 3 things I want to quickly mention. First is shared AI literacy foundation. So everyone is doing upskilling for students, for faculty, and like I mentioned, it's the city of San Jose, right? So we should think together, like what exactly AI literacy we're talking about, and so from when we prepare the student and also to the career path, so we need to think our requirement. At the same time, for instance, we just recently launched the AI literacy course over the summer for all the transfer students. 4,000 students are enrolled into this course. So if we think early, right, so all the students are ready when they are transferred. So I think that's definitely something we can build up the pipeline. And also joint applied projects. So for instance, the industry partner, for instance, IBM over the lunch, right? So they're promoting the skill build opportunities, and we are promoting. And I think there might be opportunity for us, just for the student to collaborate naturally on tackling real world problem together. I think that's definitely an opportunity we need to let the industry know we're interested, right? So build those opportunities, and with the founder support, we can make that successful. And also for faculty as well, right? So I just reach out to the California, the community college, the AI fellow team. I said, San Jose State, we have fellows. We have 9 fellows, 1 fellow from each college, and you have fellow from divisions and with different expertise. We should talk. All the fellows should talk, and we should think together and then contribute to each other's growth. And I think that's, like I mentioned, the AI is actually opportunity for us to get closer, right? So because we are facing similar challenges and opportunities, we should do it together. Thanks.
Thanks. That's a great note to I think close on. And I wanted to open it up now to questions. We have about 15 minutes, so I'm happy to bring the mic to you. But yeah, feel free to ask away. Any burning questions? Yeah, please. Okay, great. The question is about how to support career changers, people who are trying to reskill in these pathways. It's a great question.
Yeah, thanks. And others should definitely feel free to jump in. I think what we've been thinking about with this research and the report are how do we provide really holistic wraparound services for all different kinds of learners, right? Traditional students, non-traditional students, those who are returning to education, career changers, all of those people, because everyone's going to have very unique needs. But there are some commonalities between them, with childcare obviously being, a very significant one. And I think there's no easy fix to that issue, right? Our colleges and universities are not suddenly going to be able to provide childcare support to all of our student body, unfortunately, although if we could, that would be incredible. So I think we need to think creatively about how do we support those who have childcare obligations or family care obligations. How can we ensure the flexibility there for those individuals particularly, but also flexibility for, people can have all kinds of reasons why they can't get to a certain place by a certain time, right? And so we learned so much during COVID about how we can be flexible and accommodate all kinds of different circumstances. And I think there seems to be a little bit of a push away from some of those accommodations that were made during COVID, but I think it's really on us to think very carefully about that, because it brought a lot of benefits to a lot of people, and we don't want to lose that. And yes, being on Zoom 100% of the time, all the time, was not ideal, but there's a medium happy place, I think, that we can find between those. And so we need to think creatively about how do we deliver the content that we need for educational programs in a way that also accommodates the individual needs of our learners and students.
It's a great question. I'll just add that I'm hearing a theme through a lot of leadership discussions on our campus and other partners in reimagining how and where education happens. There's some great blog posts, happy to touch base afterwards. I think another thing that, particularly for public interest technology, that I've observed is the more that leaders in the space can encourage students, learners from all stages to really feel empowered to not only learn, but immediately contribute and own it, that you're actually innovating because you're bringing unique experiences and expertise to the table. I think that can be extremely powerful. And in budget constrained times, changing framing and messaging is like a pretty low risk thing to try out and see if it helps in getting us to the wide range of skill sets that really make public interest tech and public interest anything successful.
Rick, did you want to go ahead? Oh, okay, go ahead. Yes.
I'll stand up and use.
Perfect. Excellent.
So I'm trying to, I'm kind of in the backdrop of today's listening session with the keynotes that were super powerful. Kind of flipped a lot of my thinking on its ear a little bit. Hearing how this public interest technology as an ethical and kind of using technology for good kind of thinking, right? And you were talking about sort of what are the pathways to careers in this space. And I'm just trying to, I work at a community college, I'm a vice president, I can help develop programming and degrees and certificates, working with faculty to do so. And I don't know if I'm trying to think through, like, is data science the thing we want to be doing here and trying to elevate that in the program? But that in and of itself isn't really going to get you there, right? And then how does it then, you're trying to create this sort of catch-all thing, data science, ethical approaches, and in my mind I'm thinking ethnic studies, I'm trying to think, kind of the kind of good thinking we do in our humanities programs that lead into everything. One thing, like what are your all thoughts in terms of how we could, because we do like the here you go, and then you're all going to pick it up and take it, right? So what do you need here at this level for us to kind of help the society kind of engage in this way? Does that make sense?
Yeah, great question. Did everyone not hear the question about pathway development, multidisciplinary, how to create the right type of pathway? Who would like to take it?
I can quickly share what we have been exploring, right? So I think recently we have successfully launched, it's called AI minor minor program through the school information. So it's a non-credit program, and the ethics is the requirement, right? So, and a few other colleges are also thinking about things like that, right? So to pack those foundation like data science, for instance, but on top of that, you have to have ethics. And then there's another disciplinary related AI technology course. So you can pack things like that and then as a solution. I think that's what we have been exploring.
So like a bolt-on instead of a thing, right? Because you could say, oh, we're going to create a degree in this, or I can create bolt-on experiences to every degree.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if there's a.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Go ahead. Yes.
You can't end a panel without a little bit of spice. So,
Exactly.
Personally, the debate and wrestling around, is this an add-on, is it a bolt-on, et cetera. For us at Berkeley, when we started data science, we felt it was incredibly important to make human context and ethics core to that. And so it is a requirement that every data science undergraduate is taking, and actually it's a super popular class, human context and ethics, and there's a whole pathway of like, oh, you found that interesting, like here's another way to explore that. We have been discussing with Sophia Noble at UCLA different ways to maybe offer UC Berkeley and UCLA and maybe community colleges. If it's not bold and ambitious, why bother is sort of our thinking, but like, pathways where students could really learn from the best of what there is to offer here. So I think at its core, whether it's called data science or AI or technology, for public benefit, for us it's about empowering the data and AI ready leaders with their very human perspective and purpose to go out and do amazing things, whether it's in health or climate or education or, technology itself. And so, yeah, I would encourage folks in the room, if you're thinking about this, to consider, what is required, what is added, and if it is, an elective and added, are there ways to frame it so that people feel encouraged and it's not just like, oh, and, once you do these requirements, you have an option to learn about ethics?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that ethics kind of needs to be central to this. And then what we also need to do is highlight that connective tissue between how this then relates to healthcare or justice or environmental work or, racial justice, whatever the subject matter is. Because what my research has shown is that students are really interested in this broad spectrum of things, but they don't always see how technology slots into that. And so we need to give them the foundation of, this is how we use technology responsibly through an ethics course or similar, or courses ideally, and then show them how that connects out to whatever subject it is that they are seeking to apply it in.
Yeah, go ahead, Yunji.
I will just add quickly for AI literacy, the foundational AI literacy course we have built. We actually have specific modules talking about ethics and responsible use and also environmental impact, all those important topics. And the students' feedback, they really appreciate that. At the same time, they also value the discipline-specific AI career and skills and knowledge about that. So another idea I want to share is in the AI literacy course, students have 4 modules, essential module, the foundation. But we also have the fellows. Remember, the fellows are from each college. So each fellow actually contribute a college-specific module. So kind of like, here's a big idea about AI literacy, but for our college, what do we mean? And what our career and discipline actually need and require. So kind of like help students see it in a very closer way. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a great question. And as a funder, I think it'd be really interesting too, like, because we're evaluating models all the time, but to kind of have a toolkit or something that shows some case studies of this. But we're huge fans of also modularized sort of learning, but making sure that it's not just a box to check to Meredith's point. So I think we have time for one more question. Rick, did you want to take it? Okay.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. So one of the
Absolutely. Anyone want to comment on this?
I can't really comment on the time piece. I don't think I have a good answer for that, but
You don't have an answer to the timepiece of AI.
I
Oh my
don't. I
goodness.
don't know how we do that. It's changing every day. But the experiential piece, yeah, I think it's really crucial and key, and that's how we are going to set up our learners for success in the workforce. And I don't think that, I mean, so in the law school setting, when students are doing experiential learning, they're doing it for like a semester or a short period of time. So it can be integrated in shorter time periods throughout whatever period of learning you have, I think. It's just a matter of, you know, setting expectations with whoever the partner is of what is realistic to accomplish by students in that time, right? And that's something we run into in law all the time. People think, oh, these students can come in and solve this gigantic problem in 13 weeks. Obviously, they're not going to do that. So we have to like break it down and be very clear to the students, but also the partners in what is going to be achievable in that time and like what the feedback loop needs to be and all of that stuff. So it does need to be built quite carefully, but I think you can slot it in into relatively short time periods.
Well, we learned in human-centered design thinking, you can imagine if that problem were solved, what would be different? I think there's some lessons from agile governance work where it was the same sort of like, oh, we can't set up the regulations and norms around governments as fast as, you know, this is moving. There's some interesting parallels there. For Berkeley, we felt a huge pain point when the scale of our classes just really took off, the student demand. And in flipping that problem of scale to an opportunity of scale, we were able to come up with creative ways where the faculty, you know, they couldn't possibly do one-on-one, you know, office hours with 1,000+ students, 1,500 students, et cetera, but groups where students who are just a year ahead or sometimes even 6 months ahead from the current person in need, that ended up being a very valuable scaffolding that over the years you build up essentially this pipeline of people who have been in that student's shoes literally just recently. And so I think there's something about leveraging our, you know, creative students and how they're approaching this. And they, you know, have grown up in an age of high-paced, you know, interaction, and so I think there's potential there that's untapped. To your second question about experiential learning, I remember as a student going to internships and thinking there was something wrong with me because people said internships are great for learning what you're good at and what you don't like. And I liked all of my internships, even though they were really, really different. And so because we're living in this multidisciplinary world, and, you know, an AI world is a multidisciplinary world, I think the more we can provide experiential learning and let students know that there's a safe place to explore and a cohort to, you know, share their experiences, it just makes it so much more real and tangible for those students. So yeah, I am a fan of experiential learning and would love to discuss potential partnerships with anybody else who's seen some pilots in their individual institutions.
I would quickly add one more thing. I think as we talk about experiential learning, it reminds me, good teaching is good teaching. Experiential learning is good, no matter AI or not, right? So it's good pedagogy. And also, I try to answer the first question about the pace in a way. Everybody need to be patient. Right? Because we are all working on this together. At the same time, I think follow the lead of students, right? A lot of time, we naturally, as educator, we think this is good for you. This is good for you, right? So we keep adding things to students' plate at the same time because we talk about the future job or the workforce development. At the same time, we talk about the entry-level job is at risk, right? So we need to evaluate all those and then really put, again, back to the classroom and think with the faculty, right? So right now, the course learning objective actually should, based on the Bloom taxonomy, we need to aim to the higher level, right? Not the traditional build until that. We actually need to flip. We aim high. So that way when we prepare students graduate, they have the skill ready. But at the same time, with everything going on, we need to give us credit. Everybody, please be patient.
Absolutely. And as funders, we've also seen some cases where anything related to AI can get kind of like fast tracked approved. So some examples of that. And then the last point I'll add just quickly before we close is I think we really see it as a foundation, like an opportunity to bring in startups and the venture community into these conversations. And that's why it's really ideal to collaborate between universities, community colleges, and that whole startup ecosystem, because often that startup ecosystem is left, aside. And I think that can inject some of that urgency of like what is really market relevant, as we saw a lot of students want to go work for the private sector, and that's not the only option, but I think that intersection is really key. So I know we are at time. Please join me in thanking these fantastic panelists. We hope that this inspires you all. We'd love in a year from now to be back and hear about some of the pilots that you have all started. As a funder, again, like we see other funders in this space who are just very eager to see how we can help. So we'll stay on stage for a little bit longer, and feel free to come up and ask any questions. But thank you so much today.
Thank you.
Bye.